Hi, good day everyone. My name is Liang, the sales manager of HCO Wi-Fi. It's an honor for me to deliver this webinar today. The topic of my presentation is HCO Education Wi-Fi Solution. It will take around 30 minutes and I may leave 10 minutes at last for Q&A session. To do a successful Wi-Fi project, the most important thing is to match well the right product and the right market. As you may know that HCO Wi-Fi solution is designated for guest Wi-Fi project, which provides very flexible hotspot management features. In this presentation, I will take one of the main target markets, education market, as an example to share with you some experience. I will cover three parts. In the first part, I'd like to show you what you need to consider in a campus wireless network. Since there are different locations, different people, and different schedule. We are going to not only choose the suitable product, but also the suitable management policies for those characteristics. And then, I'm going to talk a little bit about the network topology in a real project. Sometimes you face just one site, a single school, but sometimes you may encounter complicated case with a group of schools. You will know what HCO Wi-Fi solution has prepared for this kind of situation. At last, let's go through quickly some case studies and a Q&A session to finish today's topic. Okay, let's start. In a school, there are different types of scenarios, which requires different type of access points to provide excellent Wi-Fi signal and guarantee the throughput. Furthermore, to cooperate with teaching activities, we need different user policies in different locations. Okay, let's think about it. What are the characteristics of the classroom? It is an indoor space, high density, but not so high like the big meeting hall. So we chose ECW 5211 as the access point to provide Wi-Fi coverage, which is 802.11ac concurrent dual band, MIMO 2x2, WIF2, support 256 concurrent users, 128 on each band. So if there are 30 to 50 students in a classroom, one ECW 5211-L is enough. We recommend installing the access points in the center of the ceiling to get best coverage in all the corners of the classroom. Alternatively, it can be also mounted on the wall if the cabling is limited. There are many BYOD from the students, mainly the smartphones and tablets. We can use browser-based authentication method, specifically customize a login page where the student can input his or her username and password to get access to the Wi-Fi network. In order to prevent large bandwidth consuming in the classroom, we can apply a bandwidth control. This can be distributed a bandwidth limit per each individual user and also per a group of users, such as the students of a class or the students of the whole school. In the same way, we can assign more bandwidth to the teacher's table PC to ensure the smooth streaming of teaching media. We can also block some unwanted websites or other online application by firewall. For example, I don't want the student to use Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter in the classroom. They can just put the domain name in the firewall list. Let's move to the library. The library is quite different from the classroom. It has more wide area and there might be a large amount of various devices concentrating in some room. In this case, the AP efficiency and capacity will be more important. So, a Viv2 MIMO 4x4 access point is the best choice. We select ECW 5410-L. And in other common area, we can still use ECW 5211-L for cost consideration. Nowadays, many schools' library has already had digital library system or e-learning center. We can allow the guests to visit the library database if they take their own wireless devices to the library by setting the firewall policy. The playground is an outdoor scenario, so the indoor access point for sure is not suitable for the playground. You have to choose the outdoor one. ECWO 5211-L is an outdoor access point with 4 external antennas, IP68 protection, 802.11ac concurrent dual band. You can even change the antennas according to your coverage requirements. Normally, we will not set too much limitations on the playground just to block some harmful website and control the bandwidth. In the sports center, not all the visitor here has a demand for Wi-Fi, although the area is large. We can use ECW 5211-L in the audience area. It can be ceiling mounted if the ceiling is not too high, and otherwise you can consider wall mounting or hide them under the chairs. If the sports center contains swimming pool, you may use outdoor AP instead to prevent the water damage to electrical components in such a high humidity environment. The sports center has more or less some visitors out of the school. For example, maybe some cross-campus event here, or some company or organizations rent the sports center to hold events. It is impossible to generate accounts in the local database or radio server, which will take a lot of time. As a hotspot solution supplier, we consider more on the guest management to provide the most simplest way to let the guest log in. You can use email, SMS, one-time password, and social media as the guest login methods. Or you can also allow the guest to be self-registered on the Capital portal by leaving their information that you want to collect, or by online payment through some mainstream payment gateways such as PayPal. In addition to the location, in the campus, there are also different groups of users which should be managed in different ways. IT manager is the man who manages the whole network, needs the authorization to access the network management web user interface, and receive system notifications. Sometimes we need not only one person to manage the network, but a group of persons. Then, teacher. We can use local accounts or radius authentication and allow them to access the internal database, FTP, and HTTP for their teaching work. Considering the teachers need to use different wireless devices such as smartphones and PCs, we need to assign more concurrent sessions for this group. The student is always naughty, so we have to set some firewall policies to block websites such as Facebook by domain name and filter out adult content by the third-party DNS. We can also block online games by block certain posts. We may allow the student user to access the internal FTP server to submit their homework or download some study material. Students is the largest user group in a campus network. So if your applicant bandwidth is limited, you have to consider seriously to control the student bandwidth. For example, you can limit each device download 5 megabits per second and upload 2 megabits per second. And for the total student group, 100 megabits per second download and upload 50 megabits per second. Regarding the authentication method, you can simply use local account or radio server. Then each student will get a username and password as a credential to access the Wi-Fi. We have also encountered some cases that use on-demand accounts. For example, University A wants to assign monthly quota of 10 gigabytes to each student. We use on-demand account to generate each month a list of username and password for all the students with 10 gigabytes quota valid for 30 days and allow 2 concurrent sessions to avoid too many devices logged in, saving the system resources. And in the beginning of next month, the IT manager just renew the quota for everyone. Another case, University B provides charged Wi-Fi. Students need to buy a ticket online or from the administration office to use the Wi-Fi. It is also on-demand account in HCO EWS controller. Last, sometimes our campus will come some visitors. They also want to use Wi-Fi. So what we have to consider for this group of users? On one hand, we like to know more information about the visitors. We can use guest login to do a questionnaire or use social media, email, one-time password login to record their email address or mobile phone numbers. On another hand, we need to consider the information security. For visitors, we have to block them from our internal servers and limit their bandwidth and concurrent sessions in order not to cause network congestion embedding our teaching activities. In the campus, we may consider different user policies for different schedules as well. Okay, I have already talked a lot about the user policies for different locations and different user groups. Now, let's see how the user policies work for different schedules. Let's take the student in the classroom as an example. During the class time, we don't allow the student to use their smartphone to visit Facebook. But we'd like to allow them to visit Facebook in the break time. What we have to do is just to create respectively 2 time plans and assign different firewall policies to these 2 time plans. That's all. But now, I believe you have known why HCO double line solution provides the most flexible user management features. Our user management can be freely combined from these 3 dimensions of location, people, and schedule, very specific but easy to set up. After seeing these characteristics of the campus from location, role, and time, now let's move to the whole network topology. How to decide the most suitable network structure is also very important to consider. Okay, first, I like to start from the most simplest topology in a single site. If your project is only for one single campus, the network topology is mostly like this picture. HCO EWS controller acts as a gateway between the access points and the uplink to manage all the user traffic and management traffic. Besides, HCO EWS controller can also manage certain PoE switch of HCO brand. So, whatever users, the access points, and switches. You can manage them all together in the controller's web user interface, saving a lot of time for the IT manager to configure them one by one. Someone may wonder if I already had the wireless network infrastructure. But the access points are not from HCore, are of other brands. May I use HCore controller to manage the hotspot? The answer is yes. HCore EWS controller actually composed of two parts. The first part is the AP management. Other vendors may call it AC controller. The second part is the user management, or we can call it a AAA gateway. Let's see what happens if you use a third-party AP with HCore controller. As I said in the beginning, the user traffic must pass through the controller to get managed. So the user management part will be the same as you use HCore AP. But you cannot manage the third-party AP in the HCore controller's user interface. You can only see the AP status on or off. In this case, HCore EWS controller acts as OLE and AAA gateway. HCore Wi-Fi solution also supports high availability. These features use one additional controller as redundancy to secure the reliability of the network. In case the active controller is crashed, the redundant one in standby will turn to active mode immediately to take over all the management work of the crashed controller. The active controller and the standby controller will always synchronize the database on background. So don't worry about the user database in the standby controller. The high availability can be also N+1, which means you have several controllers in active mode to manage different sectors of a huge network. You can use only one redundant controller in standby, since it is quite rare multiple controllers crash at the same time. In a single campus, I'm sure that your user will not always stay in the same location to connect the Wi-Fi. The logged-in user roaming in the same Layer 2 network now is already a must feature, so I only introduce more here. Okay, as we already knew how to design the network structure, next question is how to select the suitable product. Let's see from the controller. HCore has several models of controller. What is the main difference between each model? The only difference is the capacity. Specifically, how many concurrent users it can support and how many access points it can manage. Regarding the features, that's all the same in all the models. From this table, you can see the vertical X shows the concurrent user quantity, which is the first figure we need to consider. For example, from the smaller controller EWS 101 supporting 60 concurrent users to the largest one supporting 20,000 concurrent users. In most campus projects, the concurrent user quantity decides the controller model. Besides, we have to check how many access points we have to manage under the controller. Here, the horizontal X shows the access points quantity. Please pay attention. The access points here we mentioned are HCore access points, not the third-party access points that cannot be managed by HCore controller. This table shows the access points that each core has. I have already introduced some models at the very beginning, such as ECW5211-L, ECW5410-L, and ECW5211-L. The ECW100 is usually used in hotel rooms. It's in-wall mounting. Actually, in the campus project, you can use it in the student dormitory. And this one, ECWO5212-L. It is just a simplified version of ECWO5211-L. It's only wave 1, not wave 2. And there's no Bluetooth nor GPS. And the last one, ECWO5213-L. It's normally used in the point-to-point solution because there's a built-in panel antenna, directional panel antenna. Talked about the single-site design. What is the special thing need to be taken into consideration if my project is a group of schools that requires centralized management? Let's go ahead. This shows a typical multiple-site network topology. There are 3 sites. And under each site, there are both layer 2 and layer 3 network. Maybe you already noticed that the yellow dotted line between the controllers. This is the cross gateway roaming. In the last session, I have passed the layer 2 roaming. But if your campus is too large, you may use multiple gateway controllers to manage different sections of a huge network. Here, let's check out what is cross-gateway roaming. As the picture shows here, a user has logged in the controller 1. Then, he moves to the controller 2. Normally, under a different controller, he had to log in again. But with cross-gateway roaming feature, it just feels like under the same layer 2 network, no additional login requirement. Talking about layer 3 network, we must make it clear how the controller manages the traffic from access points in a layer 3 environment. First of all, AWS controller using CapWeb to achieve remote AP management. CapWeb is a protocol for controlling and provisioning APs, and it uses UDP ports 5246 and 5247 for communication. When you are enabling CapWeb, please make sure that the central site and the AP at remote location could pass through these UDP ports to communicate with each other. Therefore, when establish the CapWeb UDP terminal, no matter how far they are, the AWS controller at the central site can easily manage the AP at the WAN site or the AP at different locations. The CapWeb includes 2 different types of tunnels. We will introduce the complete tunnel first. In the complete tunnel, as you can see, all the traffic will be tunneled back to the AWS controller. There are 3 types of traffic at our complete tunnel, which are data traffic, management traffic, and authentication traffic. All traffic would be tunneled back to the AWS controller, which benefits the remote APs and the users in the layer 3 network as layer 2. We usually use this feature for troubleshooting when we cannot confirm the root cause of the issue or the customer didn't familiar with their network topology. Most important of all, it could enforce any user being applied policies such as firewall rules and QoS limit. Although the complete tunnel could support the policies, since all traffic would be tunneled back to the AWS controller, it may cause high overhead bottleneck with the internet. If there were too many users, or if the firewall rules and the QoS are unnecessary, you also have the choice of establishing a split tunnel. We have another tunnel, the split tunnel, where the user data traffic does not go through the AWS controller, but rather exists locally. Hence, relieves the total bandwidth at the AWS controller. You can compare with complete tunnel structure. There are two different aspects from the complete tunnel. First of all, the data traffic would not be tunneled back to the AWS controller. It routed locally to the internet with local policy enforcement. Second, the split tunnel will send the accounting traffic to the AWS controller, and this traffic would be generated in the AP. The accounting traffic information helps AWS controller to monitor the client's usage volume, which usually for on-demand accounts. And based on this structure, here are several limitations on split tunnel. Above all, the AWS controller must use tag-based mode. Second, the split tunnel only supports the WAN1. If you configure the WAN2 as the backup IP, the split tunnel cannot be established. Next, as the data traffic is not tunneled back to the AWS controller, the firewall, privilege, and the policy, and the tunnel port location mapping also are not supported. Okay, I just finished the introduction of how to design a managed campus wireless network topology. I think some of you may already have questions for me. You can prepare your questions now and send me later. Taking this chance, I would like to go through quickly some success case of our Wi-Fi project in the education market. The first one is Aoyama Gakuin University in Japan. They want to renew the old Wi-Fi network in order to bear more concurrent users and to upgrade the radio transmission. They use our indoor access points in all the classrooms in different buildings, and they divided the network into several segments with different capital protocol and user policies. The second case is a group of campus in Brazil. This project consists of 8,200 access points and 3 customized AWS controllers. Our solution allows network administrators to provide clients with different levels of access by creating multiple user roles, each with its own predefined set of policies, ensuring the overall network performance. They decided to use 2+1 high availability redundancy and use social media login for visitors, centralized management because there are both layer 2 and layer 3 network. Next case is from the Middle East, Dubai. It is a big campus with over 1,000 active concurrent users. They apply different user policies for different locations, different people, and different schedules, as I introduced in previous slides. They also have cross layer 3 network using complete tunnel to manage all the user traffic in all the buildings. They use social media also for guests and output the detailed logs and reports to external FTP server. The last case is in Germany, Leibniz Institute of Plant Genetics and Crop Research. They use H-core Wi-Fi solution, mainly because they need centralized management for 21 campus buildings. They divided each core AWS controller into several virtual controllers, or we could call it service zones, so that the student in different departments can be managed separately. In the information desk, there's a ticket printer to print the ticket with username, password, and QR code for the visitors to get connected. Okay, we just finished the introduction of the H-Core Education Wi-Fi solution. Maybe you can understand or remember all the key points that I talked about. But don't worry, you can check with our salespeople after this webinar for any questions. Well, by now, I have already received some questions from some of you. Please allow me to answer these questions one by one in order. The first question is from Mr. Vinayak Sharma. The question is how long distance your AP can reach. I can't find it in the datasheet. This question is very common. I have been asked for many times the similar question. Indeed, we don't put the coverage distance in the datasheet. As I know, there are some consumer-grade products they would like to use distance to show their radio capacity. Because as an enterprise-level product, the distance can sometimes help customers select the product, but in many cases, distance also misleads customers, especially some non-professional customers. It also brings some after-sales trouble to our partners. For example, if we say this AP, the signal can reach 500 meters, this is only a reference value under ideal condition. You should also consider the specific condition of the site, such as the obstacles, radio environment, humidity, radio channel, and the target throughput, etc. In addition, even in the real environment, the signal can reach 500 meters and maintain an acceptable throughput. But the radio capability of the end user device is not strong enough, especially the mobile phones. It is just like I'm 500 meters apart from you. I use a very large speaker to talk with you. You can hear me very clear, but I can't hear your answer because your voice is too low. We will show our AP output power and the antenna gain in the datasheet so that you can calculate the EIRP, the effective isotropic radiated power, which is a professional signal strength indicator. Of course, as an integrator, if the condition permits, you can also conduct your own test on the open field and get the reference number that you feel reliable. Okay. The next question is from Mr. Mohammed Jamil. The question is, do you support IDS PMS direct integration? Actually, PMS is not a topic of the education solution, it's for the hospitality. Anyway, as I know, the H-Core AWS controller can do directly integration with Micro Opera PMS and also all other PMS that use FIAS protocol to communicate between the PMS and the third-party system. However, in next firmware, the version 3.45.00, which maybe will release in Q3, we will put IDS on our user interface directly. So you will find the selection as the Micro Opera, IDS, and the third-party PMS. The next question is from Mr. Juan Manuel Bedro. The question is, can I force the clients to watch video on the login page? For sure, you can. There are many public Wi-Fi suppliers. They provide free Wi-Fi to the restaurant, to the shopping mall, or to the bus, to the metro. The customer can log in to the Wi-Fi without any cost. What they need to do is just to be forced to watch some videos, advertisement, or click some link so that the service provider can gain money from the free service. This function is mainly depends on the HTML file of the Capital Portal. So you need to think how to design your Capital Portal. It's not related more on the controller side. However, as this requirement comes more and more common, I think maybe we can consider to put like a template in the future firmware so that maybe you can easily add it to a Capital Portal to force the customer to watch the video on the login page. But the current firmware is not support directly this kind of requirement. You need to design your own HTML. Next question is from Mr. Marcin Chilinsky. The question is, could you explain more detail on the monthly quota for the student? How to renew it each month? Yes, as I introduced in the previous slides, you can define a monthly quota to the students so that you can renew the quota each month. We have a partner in the Philippines. They have implemented a project for the student dormitory. They provide to each student each month a quota of 20 gigabytes. After the 20 gigabytes, the student need to buy the account to pay for the Wi-Fi. So what they did is to generate a list of on-demand accounts. As you know, the on-demand account is always related to the money, so it's a paid account. But you can put the price as 0. Okay, 0 price is also an on-demand account, and you can define the quota as 20 gigabytes, and the account is valid for 30 days. And each 30 days, you just expose the list of the on-demand accounts and restore them again so that the student in the next month, they will have another 20 gigabytes. So each month, you repeat the same action. Next one from Mr. Jesus Yanis. The question is there any limitation for the concurrent users in complete tunnel and split tunnel? Yes, as you may know, the concurrent user in HCO EWS controller is not the hard limit. It is just a reference. It depends on the controller's CPU and the memory capability. In complete tunnel, it takes a lot of resources of the controller, so the concurrent user will drop, will less than our reference concurrent user number. But in the split tunnel, it takes less resources of the controller, so maybe it can take more concurrent user higher than our reference concurrent user limits. Okay, for the time reason, I can only choose the first questions, and for others, I will answer you after this webinar. Okay, thank you again to attending this webinar, and hope you could be more clear on how to promote HCO Wi-Fi solution to the education market. In case of any doubts, please contact our sales managers. We will do our best to provide you pre-sales assistance. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.